This episode of the GolfWRX Shop is brought to you by Fujikura Ventus with Velo Core technology. The Ventus line has expanded and now has 3 shaft profiles to fit your desired ball flight. Ventus Red for mid-high ball flight with mid-spin, Ventus Blue for mid-launch and low spin, and Ventus Black for low launch and low spin. So go ahead and find your local Fujikura dealer by visiting fujikura.com and try Ventus with Velo Core out for yourself. Hey, it's Knutson down in the GolfWRX shop. I've got a quick kind of video for you here today. Nothing too long like last time, but I'm going to cover something that I don't know if every shop needs, but every shop definitely wants. And what we're talking about today is the Ricky Johnson Wedge Anvil. So this has been on my holiday gift guide for about 2 years. And basically, Ricky Johnson is a company that makes putters. And as an accessory, they also have these wedge anvils. So what a wedge anvil is basically a block of what looks to be aluminum, and they basically milled out 2 pockets, one for right and one for left-handed wedges. And they've got 2 magnets kind of sunk into the aluminum there to hold the wedge in place, but basically it's a base for stamping wedges. And I've been using just a metal plate and some 2-sided tape for years. It's gotten me by, but this thing takes it to a totally new level. It's super cool looking, it's thick, it's beefy, it's one of those things you'd buy and it'll last forever, but it's pretty cool. So you basically just mount it to your bench. I've got a couple lag bolts that I'm going to throw in here to mount it, and then when you put on a wedge, it actually basically just snaps right into place, and it holds it in place. So you don't have to worry about 2-sided tape. The cool thing about it is that it doesn't have to be head only. You can have the full wedge there, and the magnets are strong enough where it holds it right in place. You don't have to worry. Like 2-sided tape, it works, but every once in a while you'll go to reach for another stamp, and the thing will kind of break off and want to fall. This doesn't go anywhere. So I'm going to throw a couple lag bolts in here, mount it to this bench. I unfortunately have to send this back, or maybe I won't, to Ricky Johnson putters, but it's that cool that I may not send it back. So I'm going to mount it temporarily here just to my workbench. If this was permanent, I would probably put it on my stamping table, which is a metal top, and I'd drill some holes in that. It would be a much bigger process. But if you just have a wood workbench like this, drill a couple pilot holes in here, set this down, mark it, drill a couple pilot holes, then I'm going to throw a couple lag bolts in here, and it is not going anywhere. But it's a really cool piece. I love how it works. It's so simple. It's so easy to use. And again, it looks really cool. If you had this on the edge of your bench, you'd want to stamp every wedge in sight. So it's a really cool piece. So let's go ahead and mount it, and then we'll stamp a wedge, because I'll show you. It does give you some options to stamp that you don't necessarily have just using a flat surface, or like I have a metal flat surface or table. So it does give you some options to stamp maybe the sole of the club, or the trailing edge relief on the back. You can kind of stamp anywhere because it really locks it into place. So let's mount it, and then we'll stamp my wedge here. All right, so once you get this thing on here, like I said, take a pen or pencil, lay this down where you want it, mark the holes where you want to mount this, and pre-drill them, because it's going to be easier to put these. Like I said, I'm just using some lag bolts, but it's really easy just to, once you pre-drill, to throw these in here. And once they're in, I mean, this thing isn't going anywhere. So, this thing, now that it's in, I mean, you're going to have to rip the bench off to get this thing off of here. So once it's on, like I said, I just threw some lag bolts. If I was doing this more permanent, again, I'd probably put it over on my other table and mount it a little more permanently that way. But you can tell, like, this thing here is beefy. It holds these wedges like it's nothing. I mean, you can tell here, it's a full shafted wedge. And there's a little bit of play, because every wedge is going to be a little different shape. I don't think they'll fit like the high toes or the PM grinds. I don't have one here to try, but that may be the one thing it doesn't fit. But most normal wedges, it's going to fit in here no problem. And this is the right and left. They also make individual, just left hand, just right hand units that are a little smaller. But this is the one for both, which is pretty cool. So once you're in here, you can basically just, stamp anything you want. So let's stamp this up, and there's an old RTX3 I had laying around, 60 degree, but let's stamp something in there, and I'll show you how easy it is. So as you're stamping, just make sure that you make sure the stamp is as flat as possible on the side that you're stamping. Like I said, I'm doing the trailing edge here, and it does take a little bit of aligning to get it up just right. But as you can see, I don't want to knock over my tripod. As you can see, you know, putting something like 60 on that back edge is usually not something that's easy to do. You know, this is something that, like I said, it slides a little bit. But with this I keep calling it this wedge anvil, it's actually really easy to do. You know, you just basically set this in there, hit against it, and you're all set. And the nice thing too is that as you look at this, you know, it doesn't mark anything up. There's nothing damaging the wedge. So they've really designed this piece really well. But it's great that nothing moves. It's easy to stamp. And I really like this thing. I might, you know, like I said, I might not send it back to them. But it's a cool piece. I love it. It's great for beginners. If you're somebody just learning to stamp, it's pretty cool because this thing's not going to move as much. And it, you know, one less thing to worry about when you're first starting to stamp wedges. So it's a really cool piece. Check them out, RickyJohnsonPutters.com. So that's pretty much all there is to it, to the Ricky Johnson Wedge Anvil. It's a really cool piece. Like I said, I love using it. I may not send it back to these guys, even though they want me to. But it's a really cool piece. I think it's really cool in your shop. It looks awesome. You know, it's just billet, looks, you know, brawny. It's going to last you forever. And it makes stamping wedges way easier. So if you're a guy who likes to stamp a lot of wedges, it's definitely worth checking out. You know, like I said, this thing's not cheap. It's $300. The individual right or lefts are $200. They're a little, you know, a little easier. But it's a really cool piece. Like I said, really easy to use and just fun. So go check them out, RickyJohnsonPutters.com. See if you, you know, can get one for yourself. And you can start stamping all sorts of crazy stuff on your wedges and kind of make it look a little more professional. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to GolfWRX. We'll be coming with more episodes from the shop here. And, you know, until then, we'll see you next time. Me, man. God damn it.